What's your problem, kid? Why are you still playing Jett like a Plat when you could be playing Jett like these guys? We're going to teach you all of the tactics to bring your Jett game to the next level by comparing what an average Jett player looks like versus what a Radiant Jett player looks like. To do that, we need to find an average Jett player though, and luckily thanks to our brand new community Discord, we were able to get some viewers to submit a VOD to get reviewed, and we did find a hero for today. His name is Radioactive. So thank you Radioactive for submitting this replay in the Discord, and let's get into it. The first round we're going to take a look at is a round that may be all too familiar with many of us. We're starting out with a tip that isn't exactly unique to Jett, however, I still do think that it's something important to comment on. Notice how Radioactive is going to be rotating over towards the A bombs. Oh, okay, never mind. He's going to be rotating back to the B bomb site. He's going to be, he's going to be anchoring B. Oh, okay, no, he's going back to A, and, yeah, he's going to go retake A, I guess. So this is a common mistake a lot of players, including myself, make. Sometimes you can come up really big when anticipating an enemy's rotate, and other times you can basically just find yourself doing nothing in the round. This is an example of a time where he kind of did nothing this round. And the thing I'd like to point out here is that they already had Cypher trips and a camera set up on B, so he's not even really gathering any info from anchoring either in this situation. Not only that, but by rotating, he left his team in a 2v3, and if the enemy team had actually taken the teleporter, it would have been a 1v3 until his team arrived even, so this isn't even really optimal in that situation unless he's in a really good position, which frankly Halls just does not. What a lot of this comes down to though is just communication, and that's going to be a decent part of this VOD because communication is literally one of the most important things in this game. Rather than Radioactive asking what's going on the A site, he sort of just tried to use his best judgment based off of something that he couldn't actually see. That's like trying to guess how many people are coming to a party rather than just looking at the invite list. A simple how many are there could have solved this issue and made it so Radioactive was in a better position to help his team during the round. Not only that, but giving up B is probably the play anyway because they can just use their Cypher camera for retake if they rotate, and it should make things infinitely easier. Finally in this round, let's talk about how he plays the retake though, because there's actually a couple of issues in this 1v3 as well worth commenting on. Right out the gate, I want to comment on his patience. I really like his patience because he's not taking shots right away, and in these ranks, these rounds can be easily winnable, so it's important that he takes this round seriously. Because of his patience, he's actually able to come up with a kill on the Killjoy, who is completely lost, taking the odds down to a 1v2. This round is easily winnable, but first Radioactive needs to exit Heaven. Luckily, he has full utility available, so what should he do next? Well, what I would recommend is rather than exiting Heaven without using any utility, he probably wants to at the very least smoke off showers. I'd also recommend smoking off the exit of Heaven so that he doesn't get beamed when he walks out. Keep in mind, this Omen fired 10 bullets at him before he dashed, so against better players, this sort of play is not going to fly. And on a similar note, when you have dash available, there's no reason this Omen should be able to fire off this many shots without you dashing. Let's keep in mind Jett's dash is literally a get out of jail free card. Like whenever an enemy catches you in a bad position, you should be using your dash to save your life. In this situation, Omen caught him completely off guard from U-Haul, and immediately when you guys see Omen appear on your screen, I want you dashing out of here. Following this up, during this fight with the Sky, you need to be using your smokes to help you out here. You're currently in a 1v2, and although you have default helping you isolate Omen, you need to look to kill one of these targets as soon as possible. What I probably do in this situation is smoke off the Sky, who currently is using a Deagle, and reposition to look for a kill onto the Omen. Alternatively, when you realize the Sky has a Deagle, you can literally smoke off the center of sight and attempt to push in on her. But the reason Radioactive died here is because the Sky was just pre-firing him and he was playing on an on angle. Just for visualization though, what I want to show is where exactly Radioactive is able to move based on the enemy's location. This is where he's able to move without smokes, and this is where he's able to move with smokes. Notice how he has a lot more room to work with by just throwing down one smoke. Hopefully this gives you an idea of how important these smokes are, but let's talk about his dash some more. Because I noticed you Jett mains get a little bit greedy with it at times, so this is going to be another example of what I'm talking about getting greedy with his dash. Because sometimes enemies are going to appear on your screen and you're going to attempt to take duels that you shouldn't. Remember earlier when we were talking about how Omen appeared in U-Haul and his crosshair wasn't positioned for this? This is going to be the exact same situation. Radioactive is going to be pre-aiming the left side of short and the enemy is going to peek him from the right side. Now his teammate actually pinged his location, sort of signifying that there was an enemy on the right, but aside from that point, if you're ever in a situation like this, rather than trying to hit this flick, what I recommend is just dashing out immediately and trying to take this fight on your terms. He just doesn't have the upper hand in this engagement and he was not prepared to take this duel. And if this sounds weird to you, I want you to recognize that that's what these abilities are for. Stuff like Reina Dismiss, Jett Dash, and even Yoru Teleport, these are supposed to be abilities that you can use when you're in a bad position to get yourself to safety. That's why duelists can be so slippery and aggressive, because their kits are built to save them in these bad situations. Just to showcase this one more time though, let's take a look at the next round where Radioactive is going to be committing to a full spray on the enemy Skye. He panicked here. It's fine. That stuff happens. Now keep in mind, in situations like this, you actually do have the upper hand. She is a Spectre and you're both spraying at each other. You literally have time to stop your spray, glitch your rifle reset, and then click the head. But even beyond that, if you find yourself whiffing this many shots, just dash out of the way. People constantly complain about Valorant having random spray patterns. If you miss the first 15 bullets, it's not going to make it easier for you to hit the 16th. Cut your losses, dash out of the way, and then re-engage the enemy. Let's move on to something a little bit different though, and that's going to have to do with entering on offense. Honestly, I feel like by watching how a Jett uses her dash, you can generally tell how good they are with her. And basically what I would say is that you really want to look to combo your dash with your teammate's utility a little bit more, because that's how you're going to have the best success making plays. The dash alone isn't that crazy, but when you use the dash in an attempt to catch enemies off guard with teammate's utility, it can be really strong. Notice in this round, you actually start the round at the back of the pack. This is something you generally want to avoid, because if you want to dash forward on an enemy, you can't really do that. This ends up actually losing you an opportunity in this scenario, because what's going to happen is the enemy Jett is going to decide to peek aggressively out of hookah, and you're not really there to punish that. You'll even notice that the Jett has a deagle and gets targeted by the Roomba. This literally means that her crosshair is on the floor shooting at a Roomba, and if you were in the position to dash after her here, maybe you pick up an opening frag in the round, but instead, because you're at the back of the group, you don't really get anything off of the Roomba, and she basically kills it for free. It doesn't even end up forcing her out of hookah, and because of that, this round very quickly just gets a little bit out of hand when you get TP'd on. However, notice how if you pick up the kill on the Jett here, or at least force her out of hookah, there's a lot less potential for you guys to get pinched by this raise grenade through the teleporter, and it relieves a little bit of pressure. Notice how again in this next round, how we talked about comboing utility with your engage. In the previous round, that utility was actually there, he just didn't capitalize on it. But in this round, the utility is not going to be there, but that just means he needs to ask for it. During this round, his team is just getting absolutely stomped in middle, and Radioactive, KO, and Cypher are going to be trying to make an entrance onto B site from long. I actually don't have a terrible issue with him using his dash towards elbow right here. Potentially, if he gets a pick and elbow, he could wrap around halls and flank the site player, but he really needs to communicate with his team a little bit more so that they can actually combo their utility better. Simply requesting for KO to flash elbow here for him easily results in him getting a kill on this Killjoy, and stuff like that is so important for making an okay engage into a good engage. And sometimes it's literally just things as simple as that. Notice how in this other round, Radioactive decides to re-aggress on long when he was on defense. He ends up whiffing a few shots here on the raise after he jumps, but this engagement could have been completely different if rather than aggressing alone, he asked his Reina, who was literally right next to him just a second ago, to come and flash out before he peeked. Teammates are generally really compliant at almost all ranks if you just ask them to do something specific for you. We spent a lot of time talking about Radioactive though. Let's take a look at how a Radiant level Jett handles these situations a bit differently to help carry the game. This game's going to be from a Radiant level Smurf commentary that we have available on the website, so if you'd like to catch the full thing here, you can find it on SkillCapped.com. We're going to be placing a large emphasis on how Zachary uses his dash and communicates with his team throughout these rounds, and by the way, he actually has comms muted in this game, so it's not like he has outstanding teammates. He literally can't hear them, he's just telling them what he needs from them, and you'll find generally when you do this, players will comply. But anyway, notice how during this round when Zachary is approaching C site on Haven, he's going to be slowly clearing angles with the operator, and the moment he takes contact with Phoenix, he is going to dash away after the first shot. He recognizes there's no sense in getting greedy with this and waiting for somebody to peek him before dashing. He recognizes because he is now fired, he is now vulnerable, so he's going to dash away. And sure enough, immediately after killing Phoenix, he's going to get peeked from back site. This precaution is going to save you a lot more than you realize, but anyway, let's continue. Now, as he's entering site, he's going to call out where he believes the last player is, and then he's using his smokes to protect the Omen as he goes for the defuse.
One enemy remaining.
Maybe long.
This stuff may seem really small, but you need to recognize that these are things even Diamond Jett players aren't doing. Basics such as smoking for your teammates and making basic callouts. Take a look at this other round where Zachary decides he wants to push up mid and literally just asks his teammate to smoke window for him.
So I'm gonna ask my Omen, can you smoke my window for me, please?
This gives him the ability to push up and get more of an aggressive angle. I think he may have actually ended up losing this round unfortunately, but just pointing out rather than walking up mid solo and dying when somebody peeked it, he just asked his teammate to help him out a little bit. Nobody is telling you need to lead the nation to win a game. You literally just need to give players simple requests. Notice again the comms right here.
Just hold my window.
Nothing crazy here. He's just conscious of what's going on around him and how his teammates can help him. Let's take a look at an offensive round though, where we run into the issue that so many Jett mains have, and this sort of ties into the issue with pistol rounds that we talked about for Radioactive. Notice how in this round, Zachary is opping on attack, and sometimes you'll run into these situations where players are being too afraid to aggress because they don't want to lose their operator. However, Zachary realizes when the enemy Raze pops her ultimate, this is getting a little bit more dangerous, and now KO is suddenly entering site alone after losing their Sage. Obviously, a lot of Valorant is just a numbers game, and this is less than optimal, so rather than sitting back with the operator and baiting his team, Zachary runs forward, switching to his sidearm. Then, immediately after KO makes contact with the Jett back site, he dashes up on her to provide assistance. This is pretty similar to the Roomba situation that we talked about with Radioactive. Zachary could just let this duel take place and then tried to swing out around the corner when he got there, but because he took advantage of the contact that was happening, he was able to catch the enemy Jett off guard and pick up the kill. He's not using his dash for safety here, but rather using it to make sure that when the enemy takes a duel, they are taking a 2v1. Lastly though, let's take a look at one more round from Zachary where he's going to be pushing up along with his team, once again with an operator. I want you to listen to the audio and pay attention to what he's doing at the start of the round.
I do have knives here. I think we should go C and grab the rest or Sage, and then I have knives to take site. So yeah, I want to go C here, just because I have my ult.
Notice how at the very beginning of the round, he checks what ultimates his team has available or close and then calling strats based around it. C orb is the easiest orb to take on the map, and just getting that on Sage and grabbing her ult is a really smart decision in this situation. Now, as the round starts, once again, rather than letting the operator hold him back, Zachary is going to start this engage with his knives. It's important to keep in mind he is one of the duelists on the team, and if you really want your team to entry, one of the best ways to do that is by doing it yourself. But obviously don't run through a Raze grenade like this Phoenix. Notice how after the Roomba targets him though, rather than backing up, he actually decides to engage even deeper with his dash, and while this is pretty risky, they've actually gotten a pick onto one of the C players, and since it's so early in the round, if he's fast, he might actually get a 1v1 with the Raze and catch her off guard with the dash and the knives. Since the knives pull out so quickly too, this isn't actually a terrible idea in the moment, and you'll see he ends up coming up with a big kill here because of this. Not only that, but this actually gives his team the space they need to res the Phoenix and turn this round into a 5v3. But after he gets his team on site and backs off to watch flank, I want you to listen to his comms once again.
Can I get help here?
Notice how he's not necessarily requesting specific utility, but he knows he's already missed a few shots and doesn't want to get full pushed by this Phoenix. So just simply requesting his teammate to assist him is sometimes all you need. And because of this, his Phoenix actually does turn around to help him. It's stuff like this that is so simple and so subtle, but yet so important. Calling out what you're holding, asking for what utility you need to make fights easier. Remember, as a duelist, it's your job to take duels. And if you're not comfortable taking duels, you need to request what you need to make those duels more comfortable. Do you need another body? Sweet. Ask for another body. Do you need a flash? Sweet. Ask for a flash. Do you need a smoke? Sweet. Ask for a smoke. That's pretty much all this game comes down to, and if you're looking to bring your game to the next level, that's what you need to start doing. But lastly, I want to finish off talking a little bit more about SkillCapped. So we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee, which we think is a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's like your local gym guaranteeing you'll get ripped. Your local gym would go bust if they offered that, right? Not us. We've offered this from the start because we know that our service really does work. Our main priority is making guides that are actually relevant to your gameplay. We want to help you figure out all the nuances of Valorant to make sure that you are able to bring your game to the next level. Anyway though, thank you all for choosing SkillCapped today, and we'll catch you in the next one.